Okay, today we're going to talk about DJI's brand new drone, DJI Mini 3 Pro. But before we talk about it, I'd like to set your expectations because I don't want you to expect this kind of image quality, depth of field and color from a tiny mini drone. Or should you? DJI Mini 3 with DJI RC comes in this nicely designed box. Inside the box we're greeted with Mini 3 Pro, and the first thing that catches my attention about this tiny drone is that it's a little bigger than its predecessors and has wider arms. The camera is mounted on a brand new gimbal. Also the camera can look up and rotate 90 degrees if you want to shoot vertical photos and videos. Mini 3 Pro comes with this battery that has 249 gram marking on it, and that's because there's also another battery with bigger capacity. But of course with bigger capacity comes bigger weight, and the Mini 3 Pro passes 249 gram limit. Mini 3 Pro has downward, backward and forward sensors. It has smart features like focus tracking, point of interest and spotlight. It can shoot up to 4K 60 frames per second D-Cine-like video, 12 or 48 megapixel photos, and we will be talking about all of that later. Underneath the drone we're greeted with the brand new remote that has its own screen and DJI Fly app. This remote has removable sticks and all the buttons and dials you need to operate the drone. The screen is bright, the processor is fast enough, touch response is just as you'd expect, it is light and the antennas are inside. Besides that, there's a USB-C to USB-C cable, a screwdriver to change the propellers, some papers, and an extra set of propellers. If you get the Fly More Kit Plus, that comes with a bag, 2 extra batteries with higher capacity, battery charging hub, USB-A to USB-C cable, and 2 sets of propellers. The bag is very functional and holds everything and a little more. Charging hub has battery level indicators, and the hub can be used to charge other stuff as well.
It's what you're doing, making me feel like I'm falling. And when you're moving, I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing, that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love.
This is DJI's brand new drone, DJI Mini 3, and it is incredible. I don't know what else to say about it. If you never had a drone, this is the one you want. If you had a drone, this is the one you want. I don't know how they made this. First of all, the tracking works great, the flying is great, the handling is great. Everything about it is really good and really refined. Also, all the features are ready right now. Let's talk about the specs a little bit because there's a lot going on. At the front we have a 48 megapixel camera with f1.7 aperture, and it has 82.1 degrees field of view, which is wide enough, but you can also get an ultra wide angle lens attachment to it if you want. It's a 24mm equivalent lens, which is fantastic. This thing has focus, it's not fixed focus, and it focuses literally when you're in manual focus from this distance, but if you set it to autofocus, I think it focuses from a little far away. You can get really nice and natural depth of field effects using the camera on this thing. But the thing that makes this camera so special that it has dual ISO and they work at the same time. Imagine 1 pixel. This thing sees that pixel with 2 different light information and combines them in its chip. It has internal storage too, which is really important because when you forget your memory card, you can still record some stuff. Also, like when this drone is sitting on the table and it's time for a firmware update, and if there's no memory card in it, usually most products don't update without a memory card. Because it has internal storage, it will update. So it's a huge plus to have internal storage. Every device doesn't matter how much, should have a little bit of internal storage in them. It has 4K 60 frames per second video capability, up to 4K 30 frames per second. It does that dual ISO thingy, and I think after that, up to 4K 60 frames per second, that thing gets cancelled out, because in low light I was able to see a difference between the 30 and 60. Also, it has a 2x digital zoom at 4K, 3x digital zoom at 2.7K, 4x digital zoom at 1080p. Also, we have slow motion. It can record 1080p 120 frames per second, which is always great, and I tried it. It's really nice. The gimbal on this drone can look up now. This is such a great feature. Gives you so much more flexibility. When you want to look at the clouds, or when you're down below and you want to look at the tree, or you want to film yourself like a heroic shot, you can achieve all of that. Also, it rotates for portrait video. Now, if you remember my Mavic video, I said if you film in portrait mode, I will find you. Times have changed. I gotta eat what I said back there. Now we have TikTok, which is my favorite platform in all internet, and then we have Instagram Reels, and then we have YouTube Shorts. So now we actually need the portrait video. And this thing, instead of cropping a regular video, you can film directly in the portrait mode, which gives you better understanding of your framing, which gives you better understanding of what's going on, better image quality, because you're not cropping and zooming in. So it's a really good feature, and I like it a lot, and I've been using it. I'm sorry, past self, but times have changed. You gotta move on. This thing has forward sensors, backward sensors, and downward sensors, which means this thing has now object sensing. It can either go around it or it can stop. Object avoidance, it's just gonna come towards you and it's just gonna stop. So no matter how much I push the stick forward, it's not gonna go, because it knows it's an object there. But with A pass and select bypass, so now I'm just gonna push forward and it's going to the side. It's just avoiding you. This is a great feature. Let's do this. I'm gonna go down like that. Just gonna push forward. It's gonna come close to us and boom. Just goes from the side. In the remote, we have a setting that senses objects. You can go and turn that on. So when it sees someone or when it sees a car or stuff like that, it shows a plus on the screen, and you can just tap on it and start following it. We have that plastic part at the end of the propellers, and this thing sounds so much quieter. A drone this size usually sounds very loud, but not this one. This is really quiet. So as soon as you start moving, as soon as you fly away a little bit, it's not going to disturb anyone. You can fly around easily while people are watching the sunrise or sunset. It's not going to be an annoyance with a tiny drone that just goes. This drone handles really well. DJI perfected this so good that I wasn't surprised. I think this is the best handling mini drone I've ever flown. It doesn't feel like mini at all. It was really good in the past. It is refined and it is much better now. As soon as you start flying this, you will realize. With the standard battery, the wind resistance is better. I can see it. But with the battery plus, it's so much better. DJI says with battery plus you can fly for 47 minutes, and with the regular battery you can fly for 34 minutes. Of course, all of that is done in perfect conditions. In my tests, I was flying around, switching between modes, in sport mode, filming in 4K. I was doing everything, so I was using it as you would use it. And with the battery plus, I was able to pass 30 minutes really easily. And with the regular battery, I was at 27 minutes. I'm gonna put something here. This is as far as I remember. I think it was 27 minutes. The range is 12 kilometers, which is bananas. It's not like you're gonna go and fly 12 kilometers away. This also means how strong the connection is to your remote. So when you're flying around, if there's interference and stuff like that, it just means this is so much stronger than previous ones, Maximum speed is 57.6 kilometers, which is really fun for a drone this size, and it does a lot of things about this drone doesn't make sense. And while I was following the car, it didn't make sense. I was catching up to the car and we were on the phone at the same time. We were giving each other directions, you know, there's no cars coming or this and that. We were on a very secluded road. Anyway, we drove hours away to be able to get that shot. It also has all the smart features like master shots, quick shots, hyperlapse, and then panorama. And the price is interesting. DJI did something new this time. If you just want to get the drone, you can just get the drone and it's $669, just the drone. So if you have the previous remote, you can use it with this drone. But if you want to get the DJI Mini 3 Pro with the standard remote, it is $759. And if you want to get it with this one, DJI RC, it is $909. $909. If my notes are wrong, I don't think my notes are wrong. Let me see here. This is a pretty good remote. Processor in it is not the fastest processor. It's not slow, but it's not, you know, as fast as your phone. The screen is surprisingly bright. It is really bright and the touch response is really good. Also, this remote design is really nice. It's a really light remote. We have two buttons here. We have two dials and then two buttons here. We have the return home, stop the smart flight, turn on and off, mode change. And the sticks feel really good too. Sticks come off, you can put them back here. We have a little cooling grill here. All right, so far everything has been incredible, but let's talk about some stuff that may need some improvements or, you know, you should know about. First of all, if you turn this drone on and leave it on the table for a while, it overheats. And when it overheats, it doesn't take off. So keep that in mind. With the firmware I had, with the firmware I'm flying right now, maybe it will change in the future. If it's sitting on the desk and it's been on for a while, this happened to me while I was doing the image quality test. So it was sitting on the desk for a while, maybe like 10-15 minutes, turned on with the wings closed and everything. So I got the overheat sign, and then the overheat sign said it's not going to take off. It's not a big deal. You can immediately change the battery, and it is so light. It's like an empty Coke can. When you take the battery out, you can easily cool it down and start flying in no time, but keep that in mind. You know how I always make fun and say if you're not able to put the cover onto the lens, then you're not qualified enough to fly a drone? Well, this got me. This cover is really weird because as you're trying to put it, look at this. This one is a challenge. So I'm not sure if I like this cover. It's challenging to put it on. There's no tracking in vertical mode because there's not enough space for it to see and start following you. So there's no tracking or point of interest or spotlight in vertical video. Also, there's no tracking above 30 frames per second in 4K. And of course, as I mentioned before, there's no HQ high quality video above 30 frames per second in 4K. And the zoom is digital. So DJI Action 2 oversamples. So if you change the field of view, if you zoom in, it's actually done over the sensor, so you don't lose image quality, which is something amazing that we have on a tiny action camera. But this one, when it zooms in, it's an actual digital zoom, so there's a quality loss there. And I think when the tracking is on, the footage gets a little bit shaky. It's not as smooth as the bigger drones.
Actually, by the time you watch this video, most of those bugs could be fixed as well. In the end, this is a fantastic mini drone with very impressive features. I am blown away by the image quality that comes out of this tiny drone, and I cannot wait to push it to its limits to see what else it can do.
Well, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, finally, I'm back with a real nice product, having a great time. The entire journey about this review has been fantastic. I was in Vegas, I drove around, I flew it was really good. But as usual, what matters is what you think. What did you think about this drone? Is this something you want to buy? What kind of drones do you fly? Do you like autonomous drones? Do you like FPV? Do you think there's a place for this for you? If you never had a drone, if this sparks your attention, go and check it out. Come find me on TikTok and Instagram. I'm posting a lot of content over there. We're kind of like spreading out a little bit, but come find me there. And until I see you the next time, take really good care of yourselves. And hoşça kalın.
What you do